Welcome everyone to the second part of the new ARM Mac Apple Silicon series. In the previous video we found the Apple ARM Silicon M1 to have outstanding performance. And the question might of course be for quite some people, should I buy one? And of course we have quite some drop frames because it is the internet here. And well, I have here something which is kind of an ARM Mac, but not really the final silicon. And I have a couple of problems with this Mac stuff. And this is really sad that on one hand, Apple has the industry's best, at least power efficient, maybe in total, maybe soon they have an M2 or M4 for quad core structure, whatever stuff. But at least single thread IPC performance and stuff. So amazing silicon, should you buy it? And my clear answer unfortunately is no. Vote with your wallet and don't buy this Macs. And yes, I have here some DTK here. All right, I could have actually opened something. But this is the problem is that the vendor login became so annoying that even I here with my company, I was thinking the other day, should we order some Mac for testing? But I couldn't. I was sitting here at night. Okay, what do we buy for testing? Maybe we have this garbage here, which is probably, am I allowed to say that this is garbage? Okay, this was not as good. But anyway, so MacBook Air, I don't want two little ports, two cramped stuff, not amazing keyboard. MacBook Pro 13, I might maybe consider, but I wouldn't want this bloody touch bar. That is just ridiculous, getting in the way. It's not for me. Also no, I think they changed this. I'm not an expert anymore. Maybe the previous touch bar was the whole width, right? The new touch bar is only real. Do they still have this, or did they Photoshop this? No, I mean, not that the escape key would be the biggest thing, but basically now you have a double escape key at times or something. Anyway, I might have ordered the 13-inch Mac here if it wouldn't have a touch bar, right? A touch bar I completely don't want besides the keyboards. Like, yeah, keyboard not the most amazing, but theoretically this is a little bit strange setup, to be honest, because developers now need something to adopt this and test this, because there's also, I think this A12 does only support 16K pages or something, and for best virtualization you also would want 4K pages and some other details like this. And there was also rumors that they add some extra instructions for better x86 emulation or something, which is not in the A12 but apparently maybe in the M1. So, and also this USB here was a little bit glitchy, which is a little bit annoying for our scanner software. With iPad kind of USB stuff. So this is theoretically, I would need to buy this one of those bloody Macs, if only to test if the USB is more stable, because this is also the problem right now. There is some USB core from Designware or from Apple or from VIA or SM from AS Media, of whoever Apple licenses this stuff or implemented, or maybe even Apple implemented the USB stuff themselves, and it's full of a couple of more bugs because Intel, AMD, VIA and all the NEC USB stuff is differently buggy, which is amazing, by the way, right? So the MacBook Air I don't want, too limited, too cramped, to something. The MacBook Pro, ideally maybe a replacement for my 6-year-old Retina MacBook Pro 15-inch, but a 15-inch they don't have this. The 13-inch would already be a compromise for me, but then I would at least not want to have the touch bar. It's like, yeah. So, and the Mac Mini is the problem. So theoretically, sure, I could order a Mac Mini, but the problem is then I have two of this Mac Mini things, right? And this is also, I feel a little bit cheated. I thought maybe we get a MacBook Air this year and the Mac stuff starts next year. Because for developers, it sucks now really big time, right? Developers leased this DTK for 500 something euro plus tax and stuff for 12 months or so. And we got nothing out of this, right? So this is not production ready. It's slower than this stuff. We couldn't even do the most stuff with it because everything wasn't ready and full of bugs. And so after only 4 months of leasing this garbage, they come here with the remix, and this is really Apple really right, showing developers a finger of, hey, thank you for financing our endeavor here. You sit with this garbage and you can, the same day, I said this on Twitter, developers are now fighting with the pre-orders to get, also, what attitude is it, right? Developers need to test something, but they can't get it earlier, well, except this buggy and less performance silicon stuff here. They now need to fight pre-orders with normal customers, and they get it on the same day as customers, at least the first ones, and didn't even test it yet, right? So much to out-of-the-box experience. Yeah. Last but not least, this is of course only the top layer of all the problems. I said it before, Apple proprietary stuff, you've seen it at Louis Rossmann and stuff. I would not buy this, and you see we are quickly transitioning away from this Mac business stuff. And this is also the mistake that Apple makes, in my opinion, that too much vendor lock-in, right? So they have the fastest, highest performance Apple Silicon ARM core, and instead of getting computing enthusiasts on this, they alienate us with, of course, not upgraded memory, because this is on the SoC, like on a Raspberry Pi probably also. Do they have a photo here? Sometimes they have here some renderings. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. They had it in the presentation. So the memory is not only not user upgradable, it is even soldered onto the SoC. Somewhere in this super boring and mostly transitioning animation. Anyway, this is stacked memory there on the SoC, which certainly for the highest performance iMac Pro and Mac Pro on wheels, they obviously most likely need some external memory interface, because right now they only have an on-chip SoC memory interface. But this proprietary stuff is also what is really turning me and a lot of customers off. You cannot change anything anymore, right? On your new MacBook Air, MacBook or Mac Mini. No memory, that is of course already the previous Intel generation for the most part, but also not an SSD, right? So of course we don't have final photos or looked inside the DTK, but of course they will solder the flash memory onto the PCB, there is certainly no doubt. And this is something, yes, it's a highest performance and nice ARM silicon, but unfortunately not in this form of this Macs anymore, which is obviously why I was running this YouTube channel now. And this is also why I really hesitated. After leasing this piece of shit from Apple, which, trust me, wasn't that amazing, otherwise I might have made a video about it. But you also have the performance data here from other people like this one. But I don't want to buy something where I can now only get 16 gigs of memory, which might be sort of okay, but you probably all agree that for software development, a maximum of 16 gigs is not ideal, especially if you might want to run virtualization. And then you can never upgrade the storage, right? I mean, worst case, you need to network boot this if the flash wears out in 5 years. If you're a video editor, I mean, okay, maybe if you're a video editor, you don't want to video edit on just the thing for 5 years. But if you use this internal flash a lot, eventually the write cycles and wear leveling are over. And then you can, this is also my critique, right? Apple, this is a double-edged sword there of Apple's side, and the two faces of Apple. On one side they present themselves as green, but then they make devices like this unupgradable, unfixable, at least for the most part, and Louis Rossmann certainly will have new challenges with the stacked memory and proprietary SSD. And yeah, so I'm still waiting if Apple, previously what I didn't know in 2005 5 or 4 when there was this Intel transition. We didn't get this Intel transition kit, but only later I heard, the last years I heard, back in the day, 15 years ago, Apple swapped at the end it was a cheese grater. The Intel Pentium 4 transitioning kit, they swapped developers with an iMac or something. I have not yet heard something, but honestly, this is also, Apple is a multi-billion dollar company. They made us lease this piece of garbage for 4 months, well, for 12 months, but realistically, Apple, we can't use this shit anymore. Not only does it have an A12, it also doesn't have some rumors, it doesn't support virtualization, the hypervisor framework, as far as I've seen. And allegedly for ARM virtualization that is supported, which by the way is the biggest selling point why I might get a Mac Mini for us here at Exacode to test. But the one feature I would want to test, ARM virtualization, is allegedly not supported due to 16K. So you have Apple Silicon. Previously on iPhone and iPad they only supported 16K pages or something. It's like, so I feel really a little bit scammed from Apple. Just due to the DTK. I was already hesitating whether I should order it, and then I thought, yeah, okay, we didn't do the fancy Intel transition in 2004. Maybe this time we are part of the ARM transition. Let's see what this DTK gives us. But this feels really shitty to lease something that after 4 months is obsolete. 4 freaking months. And if Apple would be a cool company, in my opinion, they would just send developers this final Mac Mini. I've heard nothing. But so what should we do? I mean, does Apple seriously think developers sit now for 8 more months when we are supposed to return this with this garbage A12 DTK that is only half usable? And fun fact, the I/O stuff, first of all, if Apple would be a cool company, they would, and in my opinion, like for a real world-class IT company, they should send developers this before users get this. But Apple is rushing this so much to the users that even if I order this now, I don't get it for the users. The right thing, in my opinion, to do would have been to swap developers this DTK to a final Mac Mini Apple Silicon at least a month before releasing it to the public, to end users. But this is the state of IT. If you're wondering why is everything hashtag peak bugs, then like, yeah, developers get half working shit, and then operating system stuff released on, yeah, full of bugs, but released to users the same day as developers. Ironically, this I/O area is identical to the DTK. If you compare this, so if Apple would be like, if Apple would trust its developers, so if you compare this here, which probably I'm not allowed to show you, but you have seen it anyway, and so this is identical. So I wonder, theoretically, you probably could swap the final PCB in here. So if Apple would be a really cool company, well, probably they don't trust developers to be able to swap a PCB, but my expectation is that the Mac Mini logic board probably fits in here. I didn't open both of them, so I can't know for sure. But the support from Apple is certainly lacking. I'm not the most happy developer, which is why I started a YouTube channel. But yeah, the whole state of this is nah. So I wouldn't recommend this. Also funny for those people who sold Thunderbolt, because yeah, also of course the DTK doesn't have Thunderbolt, right, and only USB 3, not USB 4. And the funny thing is that everyone expected with Thunderbolt eGPUs to work, and ironically, they have here some tech spec sheet somewhere that, last but not least, it's not even directly visible here, or maybe here, accessories. They have here a table that eGPUs are not supported on the M1 silicon, maybe for driver reasons only. Maybe they didn't recompile and test because, you know, Apple is not such a outstanding IT company. They can't port their ARM as a port their x86 64 AMD GPU or NVIDIA driver, which might come from NVIDIA, to ARM. So yeah, eGPU not supported. 8-core GPU. I'm also wondering, by the way, this that they call this 8-core GPU, right? 8-core GPU sounds for me really tiny. I think they should have rather called this 8 multiplied by shader, like some. I wonder, this is a missed marketing opportunity for Apple not to call this 512 compute unit or something GPU. This sounds a little bit small. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I unfortunately, as good as the M1 ARM core is, I can't recommend it. I can't even, with always saying vote with your wallet, I couldn't do it. I was thinking my mouse was hovering here over this Mac Mini. I couldn't do it with my conscience, and I still wonder if we lose it or if we send it back or lose it. I mean, not that this would be the most outstanding 812 stuff. Maybe we renovate the office and don't find it after this or something like that. But because certainly leasing this for 12 months is also a little bit, yeah, just the regular pranks you play, Steve, not Wozniak style. But yeah, the whole upgradability, and I really don't understand Apple. Apple, they are so much bean counting. This Tim bean counter Scrooge Mac Apple ruins his whole PR and view of the tech industry with such stupid things as swappable SSD. Does it really kill Apple's profit that much to have user swappable M2 SSD in here? That, in my opinion, would be the bare minimum. But yeah, you have already seen in the Mac Pro that you of course need their proprietary SSDs. So due to that, not the most recommendable. Also the touch, I didn't meet a single person who liked the touch bar. This is also a little bit strange move from Apple to move this rather additional OLED display people's throat here when all they wanted was a Mac. I didn't find the configuration without this. This is also, I don't know, this is an invention that nobody asked for and most people I now hate. And I rather want a regular keyboard that actually freaking works without keys that get stuck. Last but not least, for Linux people, I had that Twitter communication with, I think, was it Matthew Garrett or so, or someone, sorry for potentially misremembering the name, of Linux developer and security stuff and so on, and on Twitter. And the issue is, of course, if you want to run Linux, of course, don't buy this, right? This will for sure, it is very unlikely that this runs Linux reasonable well. Potentially, so this is booting some iBoot bootloader, allegedly, I've heard. And that means you would need to write some custom kexec based or otherwise grub2 or Lilo kind of shim for this to boot on Apple's iBoot or whatever that precisely was called here. And the problems don't even start there. So even if you get your Linux kernel booted, which might be quite some work, you will not get all hardware working, right? So the Apple GPU, who knows? So if you will not have GPU, you will have an unisolated frame buffer if you're lucky. If the bootloader brings up the graphic, which I've not yet double checked on the DTK. But if then you have then you're lucky and you have an unisolated frame buffer. Nobody knows, as far as I know, how much Apple has copied, inspired from PowerVR. But a PowerVR driver we also don't have. So even if this is 50%-ish PowerVR, which maybe it is, maybe it isn't, writing a graphic driver in any case includes reverse engineering a lot of Apple's graphic driver. And it doesn't stop there. You might have challenges with custom Ethernet, although maybe Ethernet is the easiest to get working. Wi-Fi might also be Broadcom, I could check later. But the next thing is also some of the stuff here will nearly never work with Linux, right? This is also a recurring shout out here on this channel, because it's just, yeah, presentation so full of advertising, jumping and happy faces that wherever you click you only see some advertising, and then you wonder why I found this super boring and very lacking on technical details and stuff. But if we ever find here the summary page of what is in there, we will see so also the neural engine and stuff like this. And you will have a hard time getting this to work on Linux. The neural engine, here's some stuff maybe, let's see, up to 2 terabyte expensive Apple proprietary SSD. Yeah, only right now, only 16 gigs of memory, which is of course not very industry leading. Something, this was not really what I was looking for. Wherever they have that, maybe I should actually look on their website. Anyway, so all the custom stuff, not easy to support, most likely at least some reverse engineering required. Not sure if you want to do that. And this is also a recurring annoyance with this kind of also Android phones, right? All this AI stuff and other analog digital signal processing stuff. Where would this? Here is by the ports again identical to. Do they not have? There would be Apple Silicon. 2020 using Apple announces Mac transition newsroom. Do we also have the? No. Anyway, you get the idea what I mean. Just as per usual, if you want to find something, we don't find it. Here's some Apple Silicon. Something. Also not what I wanted. Anyway, you get the idea. So all in all, don't buy it for Linux. A lot of stuff will not just work. Man, I'm really a little bit triggered now that I don't find this. Where would be this? Yeah, but you get the idea. Leave me in the comments below if you find this presentation is amazing. I didn't even find it the most. Here, maybe I found something. Okay, people praying that the Apple still works tomorrow. Man, so much advertising. Can we get some? But yeah, you also 2020. You need to appear just like on my videos. Here's something. So neural engine, fabric, yeah, cache neural engine. 2020. You need to peel out details out of a YouTube video, just like my own. But here, I found it. If it loads, maybe it loads. 200 drop frames. Anyway, while this loads, it's 2020. Everyone watches YouTube. Let's see what we got here. Click on play it. So this is approximately what I meant. Not, although they had somewhere another graphics that had more. Anyway, the neural engine, hard to use from Linux, reverse engineering required. The GPU, as I said. I think there was another graphic with more stuff, but yeah, again, the same stuff because, no. Anyway, so yeah, not recommended. I'm still struggling. In some way, I needed to test our software with this. But on the other hand, I'm so disappointed from Apple in so many ways that I really can't. And this is, leave in the comments below what you think. This is of course a disconnect of Apple's reality distortion field of this is the future of computing, and normal people like friends and family and IT specialists sitting here like the future of computing with soldered memory and soldered SSD, if they at least again would have swappable storage, this would, for me, this would make it so much easier to decide because a Mac Mini with 5 years of development work, the flash will be defect then. The thousands of write cycles will be used. So macro writes things, variants will skip on the small parts now. 8-core cluster per default currently, so could have add numer. I mean, I'm wondering, okay, so yeah, I totally agree. The high performance ones will just have 1632 high performance cores. It certainly makes not the most sense. Maybe they keep like 2 low performance cores. Also on an iMac and Mac Pro, it doesn't make the most difference. You could still use the low performance and high efficiency cores for fetching emails while at sleep and stuff. But on the other hand, in a wall power connected iMac and Mac Pro and Mac Mini, in my opinion, not the very most necessary. Devi asks why split the, because, so why did I split the stream? The problem is if I make one hour live stream, then people don't watch it. People, even my best friend said, sometimes I want to watch your videos, but they're always 1 hour long. I don't have 1 hour. So splitting it in 2 videos, then it's at least 20 minutes and 20 minutes. And then it's like 2 topics. And then people who don't want to watch 1 hour some video summary, then they can choose, do they want to watch some performance details or some, should I buy this or not? This is just like optimizing actually a service for the viewers, and maybe 80% a service for the viewers to better find the matching content, and 20% for me that also hopefully increases views because people actually watch it instead of 1 hour live stream I don't watch and go to some Linus dropping it on the floor tech tips channel. Marco, there's a reference open source for USB out there. There was topic with there's a reference open source IP for USB out there. I'm not sure. The Raspberry Pi only messed up 1 resistor. I think they combined 2 resistors in 1 or 4 resistors in 2 or some shenanigans, and the resistors are used for encoding what kind of accessory it is. Like power levels and so, accessory. I've seen someone on Twitter, maybe it was White Quark, excuse me again if I remember that wrong, but one of the FPGA people, maybe White Quark or someone like them, did a I think USB 3 on FPGA implementation, or using the ECP5 ZerDes for USB 3. It sounded relatively finished, not sure if it's released yet. That is the only USB 3 high performance core that I'm aware of that would be like USB 3 IP. The Raspberry Pi, the USB implementation is in the Broadcom SoC, right? So what the Raspberry Pi people, they actually intentionally, all the complex high frequency, high clock frequency physical and stuff is in the Broadcom SoC. So the Raspberry Pi people, the designers, they can't change that much. That's only some passive components, like some resistors and stuff. And so actually the Raspberry Pi people intentionally themselves messed this up so they only want to save the bill of material by 1 or 2 resistors, and this caused this bug, right? And also a lesson learned, if there is a standard, the standard calls out for these resistors, then just use the 2 or 4 freaking resistors and don't try to minimize that and save a bill of material of 1 cent for a transistor. This was really, we could actually Raspberry Pi for USB resist. Otherwise people don't believe me and make this stuff up. So yeah, changed a single resistor between that. So this is a Verge, so resistor, not the SuperBIS. So anyway, 1 resistor each, so-called EMAG, and you get the idea. That is a real thing. I didn't make this up. Could be amazing. Pile of silicon wasn't locked down. That's crazy. Yeah, Mike Brown agrees. And this is also the craziness, right? I mean, okay, certainly Intel was Intel was on holiday and relaxing on their successes a decade ago, certainly the last decade at Intel. And by the way, the crazy thing is, as I said in the other live stream, Apple said multiple times unheard of. It was not really unheard of, right? Basically what I said in the other live stream. So not only is it's just engineering and it's as fast as Zen, latest Zen, which of AMD Zen, which certainly is amazing, but they only catched up from their mobile silicon to latest Zen, right? This is not unheard of, this is just normal development. And second of all, what is unheard of is that the last decade we just didn't had such a development that Intel previously in previous decades like the 80s, 90s and 2000s for the most part, except the Pentium 4 and the failed Intenium. There were some Intel failures obviously on the way also, but not as big as the last decade of not developing much. So what is unheard of is that Intel for a decade barely made progress in performance, certainly maybe also due to the complexities of x86 previous video. And so it's not unheard of that Apple made such advancements coming from comparing mobile with latest desktop, but it is also unheard of that the industry became, or I wouldn't even say lazy, certainly the people at Intel are also not that lazy, but it also becomes harder, right? More difficult, billions of transistors and lithography sizes of nanometers here, 10, 11, 7, 5. Although the 5 and 7 are a little bit vaporware, they are more like 5 there is more like 7 there, so you also need to, yesterday I had there a nice graphic for that if you're into this thing, because don't always believe like 5 nanometer lithography, something I yesterday found there, maybe this at Wikipedia. It is known that the sizes are not very comparable. So here's Samsung, you see a transistor density, so 5 LPE, TSMC and 5. So this is like 5 nanometer process names here. And you see as the transistor density varies for this pseudo 5 nanometer from, it's probably million transistors per square millimeter, I guess, 127 and 173. So it looks like this 5 nanometer processes differ there. Also between Samsung and TSMC, and then SRAM bit cell 0.02 micro square millimeter, so 0.026 and 0.17 to 0.019, and this is the same 5 many different vendors of similarly named 5 nanometer and also transistor gate pitch. So much too, we have 5 nanometer, it's like, yeah, the transistor gate pitch, it's then like 57 nanometer and 48 and interconnect pitch of 36 and 30. So also this was maybe a little bit earlier of 2018 versus 2019. Anyway, so just that, so this is not directly comparable between all the vendors and Intel. And Intel, I think Intel historically had a little bit more normal, more historically comparable and some new alternative vendors released today, isn't it? I did Apple not say this Thursday, but with Apple I lose overview. I installed yesterday. I installed the release candidate 2 or something because the first was messed up. I thought it releases. It will be released today. Here's Big Sur. Is it released? I thought today, maybe today. I think today, but yeah. Mike Brown asked earlier already, memory is packaged as well. Yes, it is. As far as I've seen, which probably was not in this video, or maybe it is, but yeah, you see with all the marketing slides. Good luck finding that in there. But I'm pretty sure I found it somewhere. Apple one stacked memory. Unified plus something. Do we have images of? Anyway, it's soldered and I'm pretty sure it's stacked on the SoC. I guess it was already on the iPhone and iPad. What else do we have here? Yeah. So the heat from the memory will also contribute to thermal throttling. Yeah, theoretically it does, but this stuff is a little bit lower performance and high energy. Low. Yeah, but this is also what I said. So for the big Mac and Pro machines, they certainly need some external memory interface here for that, I guess. At least to not stack it and root, like have a 16 and 32 core. So my prediction for next year, 16 core, 32 core for iMac and Mac Pro with an certainly not stacked, but external on the PCB soldered memory bus. And what else do we have here? Quite some comments. RAM closer real issues regarding CPU. Photoshop isn't even coming or next year. Wait, so the ARM M1 is. So is the ARM. Well, yeah, the Apple A12 set is in my hand, right? This is a DTK, which I think Apple didn't want to see you, but it looks like a Mac Mini anyway. So what's the point of? Anyway, can't show you more of that. It's not news that they don't care about developers. Also, there was recently Apple piss poor documentation, in case you were wondering, and then without and on Apple's piss poor documentation of maybe this. This is more on Apple's piss poor documentation, yeah. So yeah, that's it for this video. Not really recommended. I'm really and also for developers. Yeah, for development we probably need something than this bloody DTK. But what does it mean for me? Maybe not only cheapskate, but also environmentally friendly, not buying garbage that I don't really need. Maybe I just, well, Apple wants it so, right? Apple wants that users have it first. So probably I sit it out a little bit, sit here with this garbage lease 12 months DTK shit of half working bullshit and make the best out of it and see how many customers. I mean, we can test and develop something, just not everything, like our T2 Linux virtualization stuff, but the most part of Exact Scan, the scanning application, except that the USB is a little bit glitchy in this thing. The question is the USB also glitchy in the final retail version? Yes, no, maybe. But yeah, time will show. Probably of not overspending and giving Apple our money, and also waiting a little bit of, is Apple as generous as they have been in 2004 or when this was, and will they swap us? Because it'll suck a little bit if I now order a Mac Mini and then Apple might be so generous and swap this for developers to some Mac Mini, and then I have two Mac Mini. I certainly don't need two Mac Mini, right? Except when the flash wears out, and then I have a second one where the flash still works. But Ahmed Tarek writes ads and happy faces. Yeah, it's so cheesy. Yeah, so this is exactly cheesy. Thank you for that. Cheesy is exactly the word to describe. Probably I somehow switch our tab wherever that was. Yeah, it's super cheesy video. Not that I produce here, and also I need a new pandemic haircut. My girl promised to cut the hairs today, so maybe tomorrow I look presentable again. But yeah, that's the state of the Apple ecosystem. Users first, peak bugs second, and developers, they can give 30% and then some expensive Macs on top of it. So yeah, some more comments. Menace is stuff scrolling fast today. Navarro writes, can you even turn off the secret source booting stuff or even have a chance of getting news? So according to Apple, they said in the initial Mac ARM transition stuff, they said yes, you can disable secure boot, but you would probably still need to reverse engineer quite a bit, or probably use the check rain and stuff. iPhone jailbreaking, maybe this is directly usable, at least on the DTK probably, but on the final customer silicon it depends. So according to Apple, yes, you can turn off system integrity and secure boot stuff. but you still need to reverse engineer the boot protocol and get that in there. So it might be possible. It's not easy. If you want, ARMAC probably gets the highest performance regular open system, because this is the opposite of an open PC, right? This is a closed wallet garden that they don't want to use you with BSD or Linux, and then probably, despite, just use 20% slower ARM silicon, whatever high performance stuff you find it. And because what does it give you, even if this stuff is some performance, or just get an epic thread-ripping AMD Ryzen? Because it gives you nothing if you need to buy this and you need to spend a year of your lifetime reverse engineering their shit just to make it barely usable. Sure, if you are after this research and achievement unlocks this achievement, sure, go for it. But otherwise, waste of lifetime. Do something more productive and do something with open systems. And so. What else do you have? A half empty space in the new Mac Mini from the pics I saw. That might be eGPU is not listed on the new, only listed on the previous. Yeah, that's what I said last year. They put these in only half the chip area and didn't even bother blow air over it. Andreen Williams says, really seems like an ePGU. What do you mean ePGU? Do you mean eGPU? GPU, probably typo. Yeah, eGPU would make sense. Maybe they don't have the driver ready, right? I mean, just recompiling, you know this from your Linux port here, live on this T2 channel. Just recompiling stuff for Spark, PowerPC, Hewlett-Packard, Precision Architecture, RISC-V or ARM doesn't make it just work. So maybe the drivers just don't work for ARM, I guess. Maybe you get something accidentally working if sometimes they have the drivers compiled but not tested. But I would guess if this Thunderbolt is working PCIe, and I hope they don't misuse this term, but at Apple you never know, if they only mean this for Thunderbolt display connectivity and not PCIe device stuff. So yeah, but I would guess that they only mean eGPU drivers don't exist yet or not tested. And people ask, now that are cooling together Amazon Silicon or not, you start using it and don't clocks to 800. And question is, so send it back as a credit, U500. As far as Apple promised nothing. Apple only leased this to developers for 500 for 12 months. They promised nothing. They certainly not a credit. And as I said, 2004, they gave people an iMac to sending it back and switching it. I don't know how they do it this time. Of course, this is a valid business to lease something, lease a PC just like from your local IT supply. Just that I'm not the most thrilled as a developer. If this lease for 500 would be okay if it would have been 12 months for Apple to come out. The reason I'm feeling cheated is because we didn't use it for 12 months. We used it for not even 4 months, and now they have already retail. So the cheating is, it's like, hey, you get this for 12 months for development to get ready. It was 4 months. We are not ready. They are not ready, and the real deal is already shipping to customers. That is what I have a problem with. I'm wondering if I should call Apple. I want to cancel this lease and I want 60% of my money back because they get it early after 4 months. But yeah, as I said, what should we do now with this paperweight? I mean, except dropping it on the floor like other channels. It's hilarious. Yeah, as usual, when we answer comments, then it gets out of control. It's happy faces, probably key exchange between all those elements. Work on the Mac is even more reinvent still, making pointless try Linux on it. Bug and GNU, even turn off the circuit source. I answered this better just by AMD. Intel obviously with all the security, and also there are new Intel security vulnerabilities coming live here later to this or the more live channel. So probably AMD, not Intel. If anyone knows what the secret enclave actually is, yes. The checkra1n people, so the secret enclave is, I think, just a regular ARM processor, I think. And the checkra1n people have broken the security, right? I think I announced this in one of my previous IT news and insecurities there on the More Life channel, probably in that corner there. As far as I know, you could, if you wanted to, run your own code on the secure enclave stuff now, because Apple and security, you guess the idea, hashtag peakbugs. Wonder if they fixed the T2 vulnerability. Yeah, I also wonder. Would there, maybe, I wonder if the T2 will still be in there. Maybe we will see from reverse engineering then. Theoretically, they could have everything in the SOC, right? Theoretically, they don't need the T2 anymore. It could be integrated, and maybe it is. I think the SSD is directly connected to this SOC, so maybe it doesn't have a T2 chip. Certainly would probably make sense to reduce the bill of material by this T2 chip and have this integrated, I guess. But just another reason, right? So vendor lock-in, proprietary paired stuff of proprietary SSD stuff. Eddie, do you really believe the M1 is faster than an i5 quad? Yep, that is probably faster than an i5 quad, most likely. Theoretically, we could check that. That of search of i5 quad, what would it be? 5,000 something, right? Let's see what we get here. i5. Is this, what is it? 6 core? Should we look at this? It's even faster than this. iMac. This is. What exactly did we got here? iMac 19,1. Even 6 core Coffee Lake. This is not that old, right? So set this as, oh wait, remove baseline. Set it as baseline and drop frames. No, I only stream with 2.5 Mbit and we have so few. And let's reload this. So this is a comparison between some and also it isn't, because I always need to do this twice here. This is reloading shit. This is modern web stuff. You get the idea. But yeah, we see the score already. So this score was, so yeah, here you have it. It's significantly faster than an Intel i5 6 core even. Here, even in this iMac, although this is comparing maybe potentially Windows 10, but that doesn't hopefully matter the most. Single core score 1100 to 1600 and 4700 to 7000 something. There you have it. And also previous video if you want to see more of those details. ECP5ZS is still work in progress. Yes, I thought someone like Whitecork or so made significant progress there or not. They are going carbon-free, man, by making machines that can only be thrown away once. They got old. Yeah, welcome everyone. USB topic. Oh, I see thoughts open. It is a package on package, so they stack the socket package. The package stacked on another package holds the RAM. iOS store will. iOS store will be the saving grace of software on the new Mac. I'm not really sure. Mostly it's full of small toy stuff and garbage games. Why no one benched the developer Mac Mini? All is about Geekbench and our tutorial proof of performance. What the developer Mac Mini is a piece of garbage. It is A12, and here is you have here the numbers. The final silicon is 2 generations newer, and as you see, is significantly faster, right? So it is no point of benchmarking this thing because this is A12 and the new thing is A14 with twice the cores. So yeah, I mean the developer thing was always as a preliminary testing thing. And just self-image building, I'm just psyched for, so Navarro is also psyched for the sci-fi unmatched for your previous video. I actually mailed them the previous video if you wanna. I'm also certainly more interested in, and this is also, it doesn't make me happy anymore, right? I mean, a decade ago you could write Mac software for the scanners via reverse engineered your 500 scanners over the years. You could make customers happy that they can finally scan professionally and stuff, but it is not fulfilling. I'm actually getting depressive. The other day, let me just move that here and detach that, and let's go to my tweets here. And yesterday I had a thread about, because the reason why we also didn't get the most out of this DTK shit is it didn't do updates. So this is completely hilarious. You have this shit and then you waste this time. And this is also why I actually was thinking of maybe not ordering this DTK. And you see, instant karma or something. So turns out, so for half of the time we used the first better shit that came with it that was complete garbage because the freaking updates didn't work, right? So the updates would never install. And Apple in 2020, right? It took then reading and Googling and trialing, and only now the other day for Big Sur Final, it's like, yeah, then it turns out maybe they rushed this DTK so much that there is some kind of partitioning format or stuff, so that, and by the way, Apple could have sent all DTK users an email like, hello, the updates don't work, please refresh the firmware once that this works or something, because we wasted months not making the most use of it because the freaking update never installed, and only now turned out I needed another Mac, and even then it didn't just work. So you needed an DFU direct firmware mode here, and then some Apple configurator. Also, 2020. Your Mac behaves like a freaking smartphone and you need a second computer to restore your not computer. And even then, of course, this freaking, and then it even says your iOS device, right? Because obviously iOS device. And then also, where is even, did I not have a screenshot of, here, didn't even work, right? So, unknown device here, this is Apple configurator 2 for this shit, and then it turns out theoretically the instructions said you need to run the same, also Apple instructions, right? You need to run the same base OS on the Mac for recovery, like on your configuration Mac and your Mac you're recovering, which is like, no, I don't want to install Big Sur on my other production Mac right now. And of course the shit didn't work. And then I found only out by accident, I know it. If I upgrade my other main Mac for Big Sur, then for sure half of the shit doesn't work. And then it turned out, right. So the pro tip for you, I didn't had to install Big Sur or the same version. What I had to install is Xcode Better, the better version of Xcode. That apparently installed some stuff in the system, some frameworks and helper tools and whatnot. And then the same Apple configurator that I didn't touch, so that apparently using some system frameworks for that. And then it worked, except this reviving device. There was a revive device without losing your user data. That didn't work. That failed, of course, because of course this shit fails. Of system cannot be restored on this device because reasons and peak bugs. But then not using the revive mode, but the restore. So this there was in the menu, I think somewhere was revive and somewhere was restore. Anyway, then the restore freaking works, so I now have freaking final Big Sur. But this is also over months, right? Each month you want to continue finalizing your shit for Big Sur, and each month the fucking update doesn't freaking update. It's like, thank you very much, Apple, right? It's like, yeah, you guessed it. Totally frustrating. Whatever you touch at Apple, more peak bugs than not, in my opinion. It's hilarious. Also, it is not reasonable, right? It's not like we invented computers yesterday and we are still in the 80s, and somehow everything, there is so much broken. Whatever non-standard stuff you touch, it doesn't work, it doesn't update, it doesn't install, it's not compatible. It's hilarious. So let's see, what do we have now, last minute. But that's it for this video. As usual, it is too long. All right, I wanted to... I'm also certainly, as I said, it makes me... yesterday, right? The whole day I spent recovering this piece of paperweight garbage. And this is not... I have better things to do in my life. I have a family to feed. I have money to earn. And this is also... what I really hate, that big mega corporations like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Oracle, and Red Hat, and IBM and stuff, they think they can let developers and users waste a whole workday with messing with fucking updates. This is not my fault. This is out of the box. The bloody updates don't install, right? And this is so much time wasted each day for everyone that... if you do this for 20 years, it's getting old, it's getting frustrating. And this is also certainly what you probably have realized. I want to spread. This is not to accept. For me, it is not acceptable, developer prototype or not, that you are on your own. You need to randomly trial around, like trial and error, like update this, update that, maybe plug in this. Have you tried to switch it off and on again? It's like, seriously, I have other things to do than just freaking update beta software. This is also, in general, I try at my company here avoid dealing with beta software of other people, because it only wastes. I learned every time I touch Apple beta software, Mac OS and stuff, it always wasted my time. I lost data, I lost other partitions, and stuff is not working, or it deletes half of my emails. Also worked with Apple Mail some years ago, right? You access your IMAP and then half of your emails are missing. Yeah, so this is also why I, like other YouTubers, started this YouTube channel to influence here in ways of stuff needs to become a little bit better. So this is high 5, do we, or high, what is it even? Here. So high 5, unmatched, so this would be that one. I mailed them to the purchase page email thing there and didn't hear back. For me, of course, this RISC-V, make no mistake, it will not be as fast, because for sure it doesn't have 600 in-flight instructions in the reorder buffer, but more open stuff and Linux and stuff certainly for me, and also real humans, GPU of plugging in AMD stuff. Anyway, so one last look here. Have you ever spoken about potential driver problems? Would you anticipate problems with connecting peripherals such as printers? Well, there is Rosetta. It probably Apple has a tendency of, with each major update, breaking drivers, even on Intel. So it was normal that you had some devices, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Fujitsu, and you just on your Intel Mac installed Catalina and half of your stuff didn't work. It will probably not be different. There is Rosetta 2 emulation, but certainly for native drivers might depend that vendors only do this for the this and last year's or so stuff. And one last thing I forgot, which probably I should have mentioned earlier because very few people watch to the end, but I think Apple underestimates how many businesses, lawyers, medical doctors, and so many front desks run iMacs and stuff only for the looks, and often also like business production, only the Mac for shine, and then some VMware parallels and stuff for production Windows business software. And of course virtualization is no more, at least only ARM on ARM. So for x86 on ARM performance will be really bad, like think QEMU kind of, probably sort of VMware before there was hardware virtualization, because then we translate like QEMU from x86 to ARM. Of course it's possible, like virtual PC even from Microsoft, so even, or if they license this. But anyway, my point being, I'm not sure if Apple will continue to be so successful due to users getting upset with this vendor login and lack of user upgrade options like storage, and relying on Windows software And this is certainly why AMD also has Zen with x86 and currently paused or cancelled their ARM efforts, and why people still run Intel Windows Macs. And so the question for me is not only with all the disappointments with keyboards, certainly a lot of users the last years, they are not stupid, right? They realize this Apple keyboards were garbage and they had stuck keys and stuff. And then the serial defects of broken display cables and other stuff. And on top of this, even taking away Windows Boot Camp virtualization compatibility. So for me, huge question marks how successful Apple continues to be, because I see a lot of user and business unhappiness. Plus, additionally, one last thing, as usual I should have, the next time maybe I make a proper list here, because there is one more thing, and thanks for watching to the end. A lot of people find this Apple design becoming boring. And this is the third problem also of Apple, that people want to, like, as this are unfortunately fashion devices also, like, hey, I have a MacBook Air and stuff. People, like middle-class people who need to run around with their pink or golden MacBook Air, it's not visible whether it is this year's or last year's model. And also there is, by the way, zero innovation of Apple, right? Except breaking keyboards and making it a tenth of a millimeter thinner. But people get bored, right? A lot of people. So I meet two people, the first more technical savvy people who are really annoyed and bothered with this vendor login and upgradable SSD stuff. And the other are people who are really bored. For them, it doesn't even look new. They think, some people say, has Apple like even made a new computer in 5 years? It's like, yeah, they refresh it every year. But I recently was in an Apple store, and it looked the same. It's like, yeah, it looks the same, but the keyboard is less broken. The keyboard is an old one now, and a new Intel Core i5 and 7 and stuff. But yeah, so tech users not amused, and fashion people, it's like, yeah, doesn't look different, and it's getting boring, and maybe even buying something else just because looks and boring stuff. But anyway, leave in the comments below what you think. As usual with Windows business software is an insanely huge market that you don't ever see most of the time. Yeah, exactly. I've seen in my professional life, most Macs run Windows software, either in full with Boot Camp native Windows or at least virtual machine stuff. And Apple, in their reality distortion field, I think, yeah, they didn't get this. But anyway, thanks that you got this live stream. Hope you learned something. As usual, looking for your comments. Will be really curious to see the next years in which parts I will be proven wrong or right, if Apple manages to increase market share or not. And one thing is for sure: if Apple stops maintaining the Intel edition of macOS in some years, this of course will be the end of Hackintoshes, because of course the ARM macOS will not easily run on other PCs, because they are not ARM PCs with this, so they only support this. So Apple has it very easy. People ask already, running ARM macOS on Raspberry Pi and stuff, it's not going to happen, right? There's too much proprietary stuff and missing drivers. So even if you could somehow YOLO that together to start booting, you would have zero drivers, and it would be the easiest thing for Apple to only boot and work with neural engine and graphic GPU in there. So yeah, that obviously was it with